Welcome to episode 11 of Monday Talks with Marshall. I'm back with another story, but this one is more a memorable story compared to a funny story. I'm going to talk to you all about the first time I ever broke the American record in the 100-meter dash. It was at ASU track in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was a crazy day, crazy moment. But before I tell you that part, I'm gonna take you 5 months back. So this is 2017, and I met Coach Enriquez at the local gym, 2 Year Health Spa. So we meet, talk. I sign up for the Paralympics, and I go to practice. So we're practicing, and we're just having a good old time. I'm having to do this fast learning curve because it was a lot of information in 5 months that I had to really learn and really dissect and really understand. So we're training 5 days a week at this point to make sure I get all the information in. So I go to a track meet down in Orlando, and I run, and I don't do as well as I could have done, but it was my first race ever in like 6 years at that point because I haven't had a race since 2011. So we were trying to get the cobwebs off and kind of like, okay, see what kind of race pattern I have or race strategy, just to kind of like understand. So my coach at the time, well, not at the time, but at the time, coach was saying, all right, Marshall, just go in and we just gonna see what you do. We're in Orlando. There's nobody that know about it. This is something for us. And at this time, I'm like, boom, okay. So I run against these kids. Now they're not even disabled. These are like high school AAU teams and stuff like that. So I run, get dead last, but I run pretty well. So I was like, all right, I'm good. Coach was like, okay, Marshall, that's good. You did pretty well. We need to work on, I think it was the start, and then this how I transitioned out. So I was like, all right, we need to work on that. So we went back from that meet, which was in March, and we trained for another 2 months. So yeah, we trained for another 2 months, and I left for Arizona in May, the end of May. June 2nd was my race. So I left on the 31st of, yeah, I left 31st of May, and then I raced on the 2nd of June. So me, my mom, and Regis went out to Arizona, and I'm already kind of like nervous. I'm sitting on the plane. That was my first time ever on a plane. I don't even do planes. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, Marshall, you flew all the way out here. It's time to show. It's either show up or shut up at this point. Cause if I wouldn't have ran well in that first race or in that first meet, I probably wouldn't be this Paralympic athlete, now because I was just that nervous and I was just inside of my own head. And I was like, all right, Marshall, you good. We landed, and I had 2 days to get myself together. So I did. And then the day of the race, my mom, she took me to see some attractions around Arizona just to get my mind off the actual race. So we went to see some buildings and museums and different things like that. And she took me to the track at around 5 o'clock because I didn't run until 7. So she took me to the track around like 5 o'clock, and I was sitting underneath the tent, relaxing, listening to music, talking to Regis. It's just about different things like that. Called coach, talked to him, and so coach had gave me the race strategy and what to do, what not to do, kind of thing. Because he wasn't there at that point. He wasn't actually at my first race as a Paralympic. He wasn't at my actual first Paralympic race. It was just my mom and Regis. And he called me. He was like, "Hey, Marshall, there's no pressure to do anything spectacular. You've been trained to do something spectacular. All you have to do is react and do what you're trained to do." So I went and I started warming up. Call time was at 6 No, yeah, call time was at 6:40. Race was at 7 o'clock. So I warmed up, went through the whole routine, and they called me to the call room. I said, okay, Marshall, it's time to put up or shut up. And we got in, got signed in and everything like that, stripped down and put my bib on and my singlet, and went to the side, put my spikes on. And then it was 7 o'clock. It was time for us to run. And at this time, it's nighttime in Arizona. We ran under the lights, and I was just like, Marshall, walked up to the line, nervous. I mean, like on the inside, I was shaking, nervous, like nerves, everything. And I remember at the time it was Aiden to my right. I had nobody to my left, so the race was to the right. It was me, Aiden, I think a guy named Dustin I ran against, and a guy from Mexico. And I was like, Marshall, you here now? There ain't no going back. So I was like, all right, we here. I set my blocks up, and I took a deep breath. Just started, said, set. Now I remember, pow, and I just reacted, and I put so much force into the ground. I pushed so hard off them blocks, and went through my drive phase and my transition, and I just started running. I can't even remember the race. I couldn't hear nobody yelling, talking. And I saw videos afterwards of everybody just screaming and yelling, but I was so in tune with the race and what was going on inside of the race. I didn't hear nothing. It was like I had tunnel vision. And like once that race was over and that moment was over, all I could really hear was, all I heard was Marshall Zachary, a new American record. And I was like, what? At the time, I didn't know what that was because it was my first Paralympic race. So I didn't understand how the records and everything like that had worked. So for my classification of a T35, I had ran a 1280 at the time, and the previous American record was only like 1303, 1301, something like that. And I just ran a 1280, and everybody was just like, boy, congratulations. I mean, people who I didn't even know was coming up to me. And, I congratulated the guys who I ran against, and I kind of walked off, and I just gave my mom a big hug because it was just more like she believed in me, coach believed in me, and Regis, because nobody knew me at the time. And it was just like, and my family back home, everybody was just calling like, boy, you did it, you did it. And it kind of like cemented me into being this Paralympic athlete you know now today. And since then, I have broken the American record 5 times. I did it twice in the 100, and I've done it 3 times in the 200. And I'm planning on doing it next year again. So it's just, I want another moment like that I felt. It was just, I can't really explain it to you all how it really felt, but it felt like I was in a dream season. And that race really propelled me forward to do the things that I do now. It's like after that, my next race was nationals in LA, and that's when I broke the American record in the 200 for the first time. And that record was actually longer, was set like in 1997. So I was only 3 years old when that record was actually set, but it just kind of like that first record from the 100 kind of like just made me take off, and I really took it serious and really, really believed in myself that I could really be a Paralympic athlete. So that's the story I want to tell you all today about my first American record I ever had in the Paralympics, which was my 100-meter dash 1280 at the time, but now I dropped it down to a 1270. And I'm hoping before I retire, I want to drop it down to like an 11.9. That's my goal. My goal is to drop it down to 11.99. And if somebody come and break it, it's going to take somebody very special to come do it. Well, guys, this is going to conclude this week's episode. Remember, all the videos will be posted early on YouTube on Sunday nights. So if you want to go watch it early, it'll be on YouTube, Marshall Zachary. If not, continue to watch it on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, whichever platform you watch it on. Continue to like, comment, and share the video. Last week, I want to say thank you all because last week was the most shares we got out of all the previous videos. So I do like to say thank you for that. But continue on doing what you do and commenting and liking. Also, want to tell you all, I know we're getting a lot of views, but please, if you can just hit that like button, you'll do your boy a favor. But continue doing what you do for me. I truly do appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.